Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. In this technical analysis of the stock market video, we're going to focus on the Dow Industrials, the Russell 2000 ETF IWM. Take a look at the interest rate picture, including the high yield bond fund, TLT, the dollar index, and then check in on Apple, Qualcomm, Nvidia. And they shook the tree pretty hard this last week. And when you look at the ETF dashboard that I've got here, at least in the sector and the index ETFs, you can see we only had 2 out of the 16 sectors positive, 14 negative, the exact opposite of what happened the previous week. The leader to the upside was the energy XLE, and then the retail was the most negative, minus 4.1% when you round it. The only other positive one was utilities, but utilities continues to be the most negative on the year, and semiconductors continues to be the most positive. When we look at the index ETFs, everything was in the red, and the Russell 2000 actually edged out the transportation average. And we'll take a quick look at the Dow transports in a minute. But everything was in the red. The Dow Industrials was the least negative this last week. And it is only up 4.6% on the year, which is kind of interesting. And the Russell up 5.5%. But then here's that NASDAQ 100 up 40% on the year. All right, let's take a look at the side-by-side view of the industrials. This last week, the Dow lost 261 points. The S&P 500 was down 58 points, and the NASDAQ 100 was down, 211 points. So interesting on the SPX and the NASDAQ 100, inside ranges, okay, inside candles to the previous week, okay, inside slightly down. So it's going to be interesting to see which way do we break? Do we take out the week's high, or do we take out the week's low? So, or do we continue to compress? Do we compress another range within this last week's range on both of these? So that's where we're sitting there. When we take a look at the industrials versus the transports, here's that hard down on the Dow transports, down 627 points. Now, the interesting thing, I'm going to talk about the Dow here in a second, but when I look at the Elliott wave picture on the Dow, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, we have an A. This is my preferred count, and that we've got a B going on, and that we're then going to get a C. All right. Well, within the B, it looks like A, B, C, and that the C wave isn't quite finished in here. And it is messy. There's no doubt about it. I'm thinking it's an ending diagonal pattern. So when I look over here at the transports, this looks like A, and this looks like B. And so what I'm thinking is that, we clearly don't have this like A, B, the same kind of definition, but this looks like a zigzag, W, X, and that would imply that this could be a zigzag for Y. So we'd have W, X, and Y. And then that would finish off the A, B wave structure, similar to what we're looking at on the Dow. So that's to be determined. We'll see. Right now, where are we on the RSI? We're right here, 47.7 on the weekly. It seems like when you're in an uptrend, you have a tendency to get a little support in the 40s down in this area, prior pullbacks. We'll see if that's what we get. I'm just looking at this and thinking that's a very real possibility in terms of what could be happening. All right, let's take a look at the Dow Industrials. Okay, here's the daily, or the weekly, and here's the daily. So I just talked about how they lost 261 points on the week. But on Friday, it was up 75.86. So 2 days in a row, but almost a little. We did kind of break above Wednesday's high slightly on Friday, but almost looks like inside to that Wednesday move down. And then you can see the bulls tried to take control, and then they continue to push a little bit higher Thursday and Friday, not much. But I'm looking at this as my preferred count now. Just because of the way things have been acting and pushing higher. So here's that ABC I was talking about. Here's the primary wave A, primary wave B, and I am looking for this to finish out. This isn't pretty, but right now I'm counting this as an ending diagonal type pattern, which means a series of zigzags, which means we're going to zigzag higher. The dashed line is where, if this is going to be a flat, which is what I'm looking for, and in a flat, the B wave can go all the way back to the beginning of the A wave, and even go beyond the beginning of the A wave. Okay, so you never really know for sure how big of a move you're really going to get. You know, we can estimate based on relationships and ratios between A and C, etc. But right now, you have to go beyond this level right here, 36,123, which is a 90% retracement of A. I have to get at least a 90% retracement to make this into a flat, okay, for that pattern to play out. So that's pretty key for this scenario. So we'll see if we get that. Right now, when we look down at the daily, here's what I'm watching. I'm really wondering, is the fourth wave really done? Do we have our little zigzag pattern in here, ABC? These two pivot highs right here, the August 31st high and the August 25th low, are what I'm watching. Which one is going to break first? We're almost kind of halfway between, a little more to the upside, I guess. But just kind of watching in here, which way are we going to go in here? Right now, I'm leaning into the fact that I think the fourth wave's done and we're going to get a push to the upside. So that's where we sit with the Dow Industrials. Let's take a look at the Russell 2000. Okay, here's IWM. It was down 41 cents on Friday and down 6.93 on the week. Man, this is just oscillating sideways, and it's been doing it for months. I continue to look at this wave count right here like this. Let's see if I can grab this, pull this over. Continue to look at this as if we are in the third intermediate wave, and these aren't lined up. They're all linked together, but I haven't moved them over to the right and adjusted them yet. But right now, it looks like we are 1, 2, in the third minor wave of the third intermediate wave and working our way down. But it hasn't really broken loose. This is a very key support area down here on IWM. It's the June and September, October lows down here around 163. That's a real key support area. We close below that, and I think all heck's going to break loose on IWM. So right now, I don't have an alternate version on it, okay? But what I don't like that it's just kind of like, it looks like it's kind of stalling out a little bit in terms of the move down. It's been down for 4 days in a row. We'll see. This may morph into something else. Maybe this, second wave isn't really done, and it may morph into something a little more complex. That's the messy thing about corrective patterns, okay? This is a motive wave down for 1. When you get into the corrective pattern like 2 and 4, they can become very messy. All right, you look for them to be nice and simple, like a zigzag for wave 2 to start off, but you never really know for sure what you're going to get. So we'll see what happens in here, but this is the pattern I'm holding right now on IWM, and so far it continues to push lower. So we'll see if it starts to break loose a little bit more over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so that's the Dow and the Russell 2000. Let's take a look at some interest rate stuff. I talked about this last week, and I said this was compressing. I've kind of adjusted the triangle in here, the lines. I've kind of made it a little bit shorter rather than including the pivot points all the way out here. That doesn't really matter. I mean, we're compressing. But where were we? We had 4 days this week. So here was last Friday, September 1st, okay? And we then came down to risk off, then we're back on to risk on a little bit, although we didn't close back above the 10-day moving average. So we didn't get a whole lot of clarity this week, although we were down for the week, down 45 cents, down 3 cents on Friday. So that is the picture there on HYG. TLT, interesting picture here on TLT. This has really got my attention. And it just looks like a potential beautiful head and shoulders pattern on a bottoming pattern. But that would imply that it's going to head up and break that trend line and head north. Okay, and if that's the case, this is the Elliott wave pattern that I'm looking at. That would imply this, an ABC for wave 2, and basically a flat for wave 2. We'll see if that's what plays out or not. If you're going to get this, then that means that interest rates, like the 10-year, is going to come down. Now, in terms of mirroring the TLT on the daily, doesn't really mirror it all that well, but the 30-year does. The 30-year looks like almost a perfect mirror image of TLT. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what plays out here over the next couple of weeks. Also, when you look over here on a weekly view of TNX, which is the 10-year yield, this is, everybody's focused on this close right here. 4.34% is where it closed. The intraday high was 4.36, but 4.34 is where it closed on the 10-year yield. So everybody's like, okay, we break above that, we close above that, stocks are going to really get hit. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, the other thing I look at when I see this, could this be a double top? And then we break down. If the TLT pattern holds out and as a head and shoulders bottom, we could, but it would mean to confirm a double top, you got to close below this low right here, the midpoint. All right, so we'll see if that plays out. And then when you look at longer term, well, I'm not going to go into that right now. I mean, we know we broke out of a long-term trend line of 20 plus years back over here. Let's take a quick look at the dollar index. This has just been pretty wild. Now, here's the Elliott wave count I've got in this. I'm holding this as wave 1, intermediate wave 1 to the upside. But the main thing on this is this has been up for 8 weeks in a row. I mean, talk about getting extended, very extended, up 8 weeks in a row. So, at some point, and I think it's getting there, running out of steam. I thought we were getting divergence developing a few days ago, but then all of a sudden, it just continued to push a little bit higher. Okay, so that divergence that I was looking at on a daily basis just basically went away. Now, we'll see how much further this wants to push, but this is the pattern I've got. We're going to get, once you got a wave 1, again, now you're going to get a corrective wave. Okay, you're going to get wave 2 that could be sharp and fast to the downside, but we'll see. Okay, so that is the picture with the dollar index right now. Let's take a look at some stocks that got hit this last week. Of course, Apple was in the news. Everybody, they talked about how the Chinese government was commanding that their state-owned entities and government offices, et cetera, everybody, no, you don't get to bring an Apple device to work. And so the concern is that going to ripple throughout China? We'll see. But here's what they did this last week. Doesn't seem like it's as initially as bad as this break that occurred back here in early August. But again, we tried to rebound here Thursday, Friday. Big gap down on Thursday. But, we do have a little moving average cross on the daily, the 10 above the 21, we'll see. And on a weekly basis, you still got a 21 pretty hard up right now. It may just chop around for a while. And then, of course, Apple's got their big product announcements on Tuesday at noon Central Time. Okay, so that is the picture with Apple. Qualcomm, in sympathy, got whacked very hard on Thursday. Okay, so now this has been in a downtrend. It's going to be interesting to see if this can turn too. I'm watching this. There is a huge gap up here that if this could turn and flip, and rally back, this could be an interesting situation on Qualcomm. And then Nvidia is another one that got hit this last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So again, you know, shaking the tree real hard, you know, is it just a short-term thing or something a little bigger going on in here? I think we're about to see. But, you know, look at these trends and you look down here in the Super 8, well, Apple got hurt. Amazon still pushing higher, up 38 cents. Let's see, what did it do on the week? On the week, it was flat, 11 cents. Google, for some reason, I don't have this over here on a weekly. Up 72 cents, so up very minorly on the week, just minor. Meta, it was up $1.51 on the week. Okay. Microsoft, up 561 on the week. Netflix, up 292 on the week. Not huge pushes. Of course, Nvidia we just talked about. And then Tesla, up 349 on the week. So a little bit of just a inside up type candle on the week in here. So the ones that got hurt, of course, Nvidia, down $29.37 on the week, and Apple, down $11.28 on the week. Okay, that's it for this weekend. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, hit that little subscriber button. And if you'd like more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net. Check out the website and check out the membership. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.